Hello YouTube! Today I'm going to make a follow-up on a previous video in which I claimed there are no such thing as a racial hierarchy. News about the channel is I am about to purchase a microphone to be mounted on top of the camera, and you will get rid of the buzzing noise you hear if you listen carefully, which is an engine inside my camera lifting up the mirror, which has to be done to film with a mirror camera. And that noise will go away, and hopefully the microphone will have better reception, so the sound quality should be improved. Now, this video exists because my friend Josephine, Louise, she has two names. Louise, hello. Saw my video and sent me some questions. And those questions I will address a subset of those. There are some things that are tied together and forms a complex structure. English is not my native language, so you know that. I'm gonna address the segment of our questions that deals with this, because it's something we need to understand, and I think everybody needs to understand it. And there are many ways to address this, starting points to start addressing this question. So I will begin with something called learned helplessness. You can Google it, you can YouTube it. There are some really good videos that explains the concept of learned helplessness. So I'm not going to talk a long time about it, but essentially it is that if you are in a situation where there are nothing you can do to help your situation, you learn that and begin to not care. If you are dying in cancer, there are little reason to give up smoking. Smoking causes cancer, but you already have cancer and the doctor said you will die in 6 weeks, so why quit smoking? And so on. Learned helplessness happens when you are exposed during a long period to a situation where you can't do anything to improve your situation until you give up. It doesn't matter what you do, because it's not up to you. A good example of that is being bullied in school, and that happened to me. I was bullied in school and I learned to be helpless. Frankly, I have been a loser my whole life, and there are different kind of losers. There are those who drink, those who gamble, online casinos. If you spend a lot of time on online casinos, if you do drugs, you're a loser, okay? I wasn't that kind of loser. My kind of losing was that I didn't do those bad things, but when I tried to do good things, it failed. Which is the reason why I am 40 years old and have been unemployed all of my life. However, in my case, there have been a healing process, and for various reasons I'm not going to go into here. I think I have come out of being a programmed loser. I no longer suffer from learned helplessness. But what this does is, you think there's nothing you can do. It doesn't matter. If I try, it won't help. I'm not allowed to succeed, so why even bother? If you have learned helplessness, you will have problems your entire life. And a large proportion of the population has this problem. It can be you're grown up in an area where everybody's poor, or high crimes, unemployment is high, crime rate is high, people are desperate, and you learn that there is nothing you can do, you're stuck here. Now, the question my friend asked was, why was Obama the first black president, if there are no racial hierarchy? And this ties into this. If you look at people who live in areas where there are high levels of depression, crime, unemployment, you will see other things like children are often raised by single mothers. There are a lot of teenage abortions, and so on. In these loser communities, people are often affected by learned helplessness. And this has a curious result, and that is that people have no expectations. I happen to be an amateur genealogist. That means I am looking into records of population in the historical population, people who have been dead for a long time, to see how we are related to each other and so on. I'm a family researcher. I have identified like 300 persons that is my own ancestors, my parents, their parents, their parents, their parents. I have 300 names on people I know. They are my grandfather's grandmother's grandfather's blah 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 grand something. Up to 10 generations back. And spending all those hours looking at those papers, I have seen patterns. I have seen how behaviors lives on in the same family for generations. Okay. I can go back on my father's side to the early 1700s, and following that line, people were having higher class jobs. They were hired by noblemen working on their castles with positions of high level of trust, responsibility. They were like gardeners and managers and stuff like that. Even in the early 1700s. And if I follow that line down through ages, it continues. Generation after generation with people who have expectations that I can become something. I can succeed. I can learn a job and get a job. And have a good future. And that is passed on generation after generation. Today, one of the people I share ancestry with on that line is having his own surgery practice. And I looked him up, we don't know each other, but the guy owns a house worth 1 million euros. And we have engineers and all kinds of people following that line. If I go other directions in my family tree, I see farmers. And I don't mean landowners, I mean those who works at farm as farmhands. The Swedish word is dräng and piga, depending on if you're a boy or a girl. And those were poor people who worked hard and get little for it. If I follow those lines down the road, today I see people like nurses, electricians, car mechanics, unemployed people. It's a different set of jobs and job situations. Now obviously there are people who have moved around because they broke from their expectation and became something else, which anybody can do. But I can see so clearly, not only in my own family, but I have looked through thousands and thousands and thousands of pages and seen this, how things go on, generation for generation, expected behavior. Now, if you go to areas of, well, poor people, and you ask people, you ask young people, how are you going to get out of this? It turns out that it is very easy to recruit young boys to organize football playing. I don't mean American football, I mean real football where you have a round object called a ball and you use your foot to kick on that ball, so-called football. They are recruiting boys like crazy. It's very, very easy to get people in. And asking them why, we think if they become a professional football player, we have a ticket out of there. Becoming a football player and you can get out of the slum, out of the ghetto. But why not go to school, do your homework, get an education? Why not? They don't have the expectation that this can take them out of there. Now, what is the difference between a football player and a brain surgeon? And what is the similarity between a football player and a president? And why is Obama the first black president? Football players, or sport athletes in general, are competing for jobs the same way politicians does. It's a pyramid. Wide bottom, and every time you want to go up a level to get in the higher areas, whether it's political or sport-related areas, the base gets smaller and you have to compete harder with better and better and better competition. There can only be one president, there can only be one world champion. So there is a different kind of filtration in those pyramids. If you talk about a job, a doctor, a lawyer, a craftsman, car mechanic, whatever, there are so many places available, and this is the level you have to be above when it comes to competence. If you just get above that level, you're good enough, you will compete for that set of jobs. This is one of the reasons why I choose to apply for an education to become a gardener. It's within my natural interest and talents, and I know there are a shortage of workers as gardeners. We have a big gardener deficiency in Sweden. If you are living in Sweden and you're interested in gardening and you want a job, get yourself a gardener education and you will get a job. And it is not a pyramid, okay? It's flat. You get good enough, you can apply for one of the many available spots. But a president of world champion football player can only be one. So there are two different filtrations, and that's why it's not the same rules. But if you do get a job, an ordinary job, a real job, not a football player or an athlete, not a politician, but someone who actually do something, then you can get a job. And no one will not hire you because you have a wrong skin color, gender, or whatever. I'm working with people. I actually have people under me right now in a temporary job that I cannot hold too long. It's done by the unemployment office, not a real job. But I have people under me. And I have seen there are good people and there are bad people. I don't mean like we are stealing, I mean we are lazy or we are actually working. We are taking initiative, we are not taking initiative. We understand what I say, we don't understand what I say, and so on. And when you have enough good and bad people under you, you learn that working with bad people under you is a pain, and you want the good ones. And eventually you will be desperate for getting the good ones, and when you get the good ones, you don't care about gender, ethnicity, skin color, sexuality, whatever. You don't care. You just want the good one, those who are good enough. And if there is an employer somewhere who prefer to employ a white bad worker over a black good worker, then that employer deserves the bad worker. So don't feel left out. Just say, okay, you can have a bad ones, I'll go to someone who appreciates my skills. Now, why does people who lives in poor areas not have expectations that I can become a doctor or something that gives me a job? Because if you think about it, if 1,000 boys go to a football club, maybe one of them will become a star football player. If 1,000 boys go to school and do their homework, even if there is a 50% chance of failure, 500 of those boys will get a job and will get out of there. It's a much better odds. But still, it's easier to recruit young boys to kick a ball than to do their homeworks, because we don't have an expectation of getting out of there. But it's not true. If they do their homeworks, they will get out of there. They will become doctors and all kinds of stuff. And their kids that they will be raised by parents who got an education, got a job, made money, and they saw another example, and they will have an expectation in themselves that they have inherited from their parents that I can become something. So, yes, there are probably racial reasons why black people became, in the US for example, became learned helpless people. Of course, they were slaves. If I were made a slave, I would get learned helplessness. I was bullied in school, and bullied in school is better than being a slave at a cotton plantation, okay? If that made me, if 6 years of bullying in school made me learn helplessness, what do you think generations of slavery that you cannot get out even by law will make to you? Of course, they learn helplessness. But the reason they are suppressed, I tell you again, it's not racism at the bottom of it, because those who do their homework, get a job, will get out of it. And if enough black people made their homeworks, First change the expectation they can get out of this, then do their homeworks, get a job, get out of that. It will make America richer, with more employed, more skilled people to work, and they will get out of that. Now, does this mean there are no racism? Of course there are racism, but I'll tell you something. In the US, racial hate crime is a federal crime, which means the CIA have a national database of racial hate crime. And it turns out a white person has a 0.8 probability compared to the average of making a race hate crime. A black person have a 2.0 probability of making a race hate crime. That means white people are underrepresented in racism by 20%. Black people are overrepresented in racism by 100%. And every investigation that has been done in the world points towards that white people are the least racist people in the world. Of course there are racism. I think racism is part of human nature and it will not go away, because we humans are a mixture of good and bad, and that's just how it is. But saying that it's a problem with racism from white people, it's stupid. White people are the only ones who choose to get rid of slavery, because we found out it was wrong. Okay? We are the least racist people in the world. We happen to live in Europe. We come from Europe, which developed science and democracy and that kind of things, which is because Christianity came from, which is another video. But it's not racism, okay? It's learned helplessness. And how do we get out of this? In my case, it was that I was allowed to succeed. I was put in situations where I learned to weld, and I became good at it, and I got respect from other welders. Things like that built my confidence until I broke free from learned helplessness. And we need to help people who live in poor areas to change their expectations, so they start doing their homework and get a job and become successful and can break this cycle. And that will also break the racism from black people towards white people, and it will end the fear of white people towards black people, so that black people can be arrested simply for being black. Education is the key to break the cycle that goes on of racism, poverty, bad expectation, bad behavior. Education is the key. Even if racism is a problem, education is the solution. Thank you.